Herkese merhaba, ben Elif Elkin. Sağlıklı Podcast'te uzun, anlamlı ve de sağlıklı bir yaşam için yapılması ya da yapılmaması gerekenleri ben soruyorum, alanında uzman konuklarım anlatıyor. İlham almak için dinlemeye hazır mısınız? Welcome everyone to today's episode of Healthy Podcasts. I'm thrilled to be joined by Ricardo Sunderland today, a leadership advisor, transformational coach, and the author of The Energy Advantage, How to Go from Managing Your Time to Mastering Your Energy. Ricardo, welcome.
Thank you, Elif. I'm very pleased to be able to be with your audience, and I'm looking forward to an engaging conversation.
Thank you. Thank you. So just briefly to tell our audience who you are. Ricardo is a senior partner at Egon Zehnder, where he works with global leaders and organizations. His life purpose is to help leaders connect with their energies to be compassionate leaders, as he puts it forward, and to manage their energies. So we're not talking about time management today. We're talking about managing our energies. We will be. And I think it's a concept that most of us are not that used to. We always talk about time management, but we don't maybe look into ourselves to see the energy levels and how we can really manage it. So he shows senior leaders how to align with their leadership, unleash their full potential, become a better version of themselves, plus do this for the teams they are leading. So in his work, he challenges the traditional idea of time management and instead gives us to look at how we manage and renew our energy. I mean, his insights are really very visionary and reshaping how leaders perform, connect, and sustain impact, in my opinion. So welcome again. It's a great pleasure to have you here. But before we dive in, I'm going to ask you, what's the one thing that gives you energy these days?
The one thing, that's a great question. I'm finishing the book tour. I'm in the last chapters of the book tour. As I was sharing with you, coming back from European part of the journey, when before that I saw you at Turkey. So I was able to be in London, Milan, and Rome. That gave me tons of energy. I was able to experience over the last 31 cities that I visited around more than 700 executives. They never asked me, why are we talking about this? And we had very different gatherings, one-on-ones, 20-to-1, 15-to-1, CEOs, heads of HR, heads of executive committee. Maybe once or twice you could see someone that was skeptic, but the reality is that everyone was asking, how do you do this? And as I am experiencing what a few years ago thought was a, provocative idea, it's actually something that probably all leaders in the world are exploring, and they're trying to figure out in their own personal time how to be able to manage their energy, how to create a gateway that allows for you to be able to do it at the workplace as well. Then just realizing that and having all these conversations allows me to come back with my heart full. Bit tired, but my heart's very full. Yes.
Yeah, you maybe are physically tired, but I can imagine mentally you're much more energetic. I was very happy to be with you in Istanbul in the meeting. And as you say, actually people need to find a way out. The more the technology is developing, the faster the time gets. And I think we have less time to look into ourselves because of running around to, finish all the things that we need to do under our responsibility. Probably that's why the term well-being is used so much today. But from your perspective, actually, I'd like to hear what leadership well-being should mean, or it means, and why is it so critical, especially at the leadership level, because, not just for the employees. Why is leadership well-being so critical?
Yeah, I think that there's many definitions of well-being. I try to look at it from an energy lens
Yeah.
point of view. Um, Many of the leaders that I work with, they're very good at thinking and doing. So they're very good at managing their mental energy and their physical energy.
Yeah.
However, they're not so good in managing the other part that makes them whole humans, which is the feeling and the beingness part of
Yeah.
things. So how to create a gateway that allows for you to be able to connect both the thinking, the doing, the feeling, and the being is what I call well-being. When you're able to have a stronger heart, where the emotional energy is coherent with the mental and the physical one, then your ability to be able to feel at peace, to feel joyful, to feel balanced, that expands versus just thinking and doing.
Yeah.
Now, you need to also create stronger hearts in order for you to be able to feel safe within yourself, to allow for you to be able to feel yourself and other to feel you feeling them, vice versa. You need then what I call spirituality in my book, which is not religion, but there's a series of energies that are different than the emotional ones, like, for example, purpose, truth, gratefulness, compassion, kindness, hope, that when you're able to integrate into the emotional ones, the heart becomes more courageous, the heart becomes stronger. When you have a stronger heart, in addition to a clearer mind and a well-balanced, physical energy, you are at your best. You're in the zone. You will be not only feeling well, but you will be well. And
Yeah.
that's the part of the well-being part is how to be well. It's difficult if you are not, if you have disconnected your heart and your beingness for 12 or 13 hours a day from Monday to Saturday. So that's what I mean when I mean well-beingness from an energy lens point of view.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes, actually, when I think about it and when I was listening to you in Istanbul, the tears come up to here because you realize yourself. You're
Yeah.
like a mirror, I'm sure, to many leaders, and probably you've seen like hundreds of leaders, and
Yeah.
it's a very good, photograph. The thinking and doing is there, but the feeling and being is at the second tier, and most of the time, actually, maybe it's cultural as well, I don't know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
this feeling is most of the time comprehended as something weak, you know
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
emotional, cannot be rational. You're more on the emotional side, but it is us. Our being includes feelings, so it's very, very good and very startling, I think, point of view from what you've brought us. And I'm going to ask you when you realize the first time that managing time is not enough for leaders, and the key thing is managing energy. When did you realize it? Like, is it like, okay, no, this is something wrong?
I it's been over time when you come to the realization to as you said, I've coached by now several hundred mostly CEOs of organizations of different scales and complexities. They all at the beginning of the journey, most of them will ask me when I ask them, will answer me when I ask them, what would you like to gain on the time that we're going to be working together? Is I would love to be able to manage my time well.
Yeah.
I always find that managing your time is an excuse, actually, because when you are trying to manage it, a part of your mind wants to compartmentalize time to optimize your
Yeah.
ability to do things.
Yes.
The reality is you only have 24 hours in the day if you were to work all day. And the reality is we don't work all day. Maybe we work, 14 hours a day at best.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's at worst.
At
And
worst, yeah.
when, yeah, no. Um, and and then on the other hand, we have an unlimited source of energy, not only inside ourselves, but surrounding us. And if we're able to learn how to be able to gain access to that unlimited source of energy, then why try to optimize ours when we can actually be able to integrate, again, what I call the thinking, the doing, the feeling, and the being. And when you do, you will be able to have clearer mind, and your level of resilience is going to be able to amplify. So when you're able to do this, your ability to think and do will create space for you to then be able to choose when do you want to spend your time. And then you'll start to see that you have a choice. You can either choose to bring it back to work, or you can just maybe choose to give it back to yourself, which again, when you do, it's going to be the most generous thing that you can do by taking care of yourself. Because if you do, you're going to be able to take care of others. And again, I see that once people are able to go through this energetic lens and get their story on stock, then their need to compartmentalize time stops. And then when I started to realize that, then I thought it was the right time to write a book. Yeah, about
Exactly.
it.
Thanks for doing it. Actually, when you were explaining this, I thought of this Japanese proverb. They say a clever guy is not a guy who is using his own mind and intelligence. A clever guy is someone, a clever person, let's say, let's not forget everyone. A clever person is the one who uses everybody's mind. So in like a teamwork. So this made me remember that. And also, you have a backwards approach. We always, as you say, think of the time. Okay, I have this much time, and how can I manage it? But if you manage the energy, then it comes automatically through the time. Now I get it more clearly, actually. And you describe energy as multi-dimensional. So it's physical energy, emotional energy, mental, and even spiritual, as you mentioned. Could you just walk us through this framework briefly? Because this is the basic pointing out to holistic health management, actually, and well-being, as you discussed at the beginning.
Sure. Let me start with physical energy. Emotions, they live in our body. They don't live in our minds. Our mind tries to interpret the emotions that we feel in our body, and sometimes our mind can play tricks on us, but the body knows the truth. So it is important whenever we start a journey, whenever I start a coaching journey, I help my leaders relearn how to feel emotions in their body. Wow. So there is a lot of breathing work that needs to take place, because if you've chosen not to feel for 14 hours, every day from Monday to Saturday, then you start to create an elephant skin that it's important that you soften, so that as you soften it, you will relearn how to feel whatever you felt back when you didn't have this skin. Once you start to relearn how to be able to feel that emotion in the body, it's very helpful for me to work with them and help through those emotions, guide us on what is holding them back to reconnect to their hearts. Again, you try to reconnect the heart by feeling. You cannot reconnect the heart by understanding. So I try to park the mind so that the mind gives us permission to then gain access through the heart by feeling it in the body. And then I can go and I start to work with what is it that is holding you back to feeling your heart. And it's typically two things. It's either your belief system, as you mentioned. If I was told very early in my life, Ricardo, men don't feel. And that's what I heard from my dad when I was Ricardo, men don't cry. And if I believe that men don't cry, then I'm going to shut my emotional system at a very early stage in the game. So it's very good to know what beliefs are holding me back to feeling. And also it's good to know what are the emotions that, for example, what are the fears that at some point I experienced that made me close my heart in the first place. So difficult to know what are those fears and difficult to understand what are those beliefs if I don't feel them in my body first. Because then I know how to be able through that experience. And as I start to reconnect the heart with the clients, then they will start to then really go back into their story and understand then what part of the story it's in disorder, that if they were to bring to order, then we will be able to start to not only feel, but feel with a purpose. And then it's good to know when you're reconnecting the heart, what are energy giving emotions and what are energy taking emotions. The energy taking emotions is anger, sadness, grief, shame, guilt. The energy giving would be, love and bliss and, hope and gratefulness. But when you do start to feel and reconnect the heart, typically you will start to feel the emotions that you felt back when you chose to close your heart in the first place. And that's not typically going to be love. So my clients, typically when they start to connect, they start to feel either anger or guilt and sometimes shame. And sometimes they'll tell me, Ricardo, please remind me, why are we doing this? Because it doesn't feel that good, no? But then I remind them why, and because you wanted to be either a CEO or you wanted to, be a humane CEO. And once you're able to, as an adult, feel again these low energy emotions, then you start to also feel the high energy emotions, maybe even in the same day. And I have a recollection of many clients that tell me that after grieving in the morning in a session with me, then in the afternoon, they felt as happier as I've never remember feeling in a long time. So then you start to reconnect the heart. And of course, as you do, there's going to be moments when the heart needs allies and the heart needs, again, an energy that allows for them to be able to be themselves all the time, anywhere.
Yeah.
And that's where the, spiritual energy comes. And for example, purpose is a very powerful energy compass. When I have clarity on my purpose, then everything that I do that is aligned with my purpose will give me energy,
Yeah.
strengthens my heart, and everything that I do that takes energy away, that is not connected to my purpose, then I make sure that I don't do it. So when I start to combine these dimensions, as the heart strengthens, as the body feels whole and reconnected, then the mind amplifies and it has no friction whatsoever. And then I hear many of my clients telling me that this is kind of like magic. Why, without any preparation, their intuitive power just amplifies in such a way, and they can create and they can be bolder in their strategies, in their dreaming. And then with that, they have then the resiliency, the higher resiliency to be able to do this. So when you connect all these things, you have greater strategies, greater levels of doing. And it's really good for business, and it's really good for them to feel fulfilled and at the same time more successful.
Yeah, wonderful, wonderful. So it has to be managed holistically, but always or most of the time we're not doing it. We have closed the gates to the heart, and that's
Yeah.
probably what you're opening, or what you're making us realize that we need to open it, even though we may suffer at the beginning.
Yes.
Once fully open, good days are to come, and the potential increases. You talk about in your book a 7-level energy model. I mean, of course,
Yes.
I'd love to hear all the book, but just briefly, I know for the people who are listening, could you explain, what does leveling mean in terms of energy? Like, how can leaders recognize? Because, everything starts with the diagnosis when you're managing your health. So, can the leaders really diagnose at which level they are operating on, and then is it possible to, realize if they have energy leaks or not, or, how they need to
Yeah.
go forward?
So as you can imagine, because I coach leaders with big responsibilities, it is helpful for them to have a framework of reference that allows for you to be able to start measuring the changes as you start to experience energy in these different buckets. Um, and as I reflected while creating it, it was very helpful to understand human energy in abstract, and then trying to make it tangible through true storytelling. And if you look at the aura system energetically, the human energy has 7 levels in their energy. So each of these energies actually connect to the 7 level of energies that I describe in a book from a leadership development point of view. The first 4 levels are grounding energy. The last 3 levels are what I call, higher energy, the spiritual energy. The first 4 levels, the first one is the physical energy. And again, I spoke about the importance of being able to regain your ability to feel in your body so that it serves as a way of looking inside and giving access inside. The second level of energy is what I call the love of self gap. We, at some point in our lives, chose to close our hearts. We were born with our hearts completely full and our minds completely empty, Gabor Mate says. And life happens to us. And as life happens to us, then we start to compartmentalize and we start to create these personas. Now, these personas started to get created because we started to experience hurt. We started to experience unmet needs at any given point in time that in a sustainable way, then our minds are incredibly powerful and then started to protect us. So when we start to close our hearts, it is safer for us to blame ourselves that we, let's say, for example, are not lovable, rather than recognizing that our caretakers can't love us the way that we would like to be loved. It is safer to blame ourselves. And when we do it, and we do it at a very early stage of our lives, it actually creates, in an unconscious way, this love of self gap,
Yeah.
which we actually bring with us as adults.
Yeah.
How to close this love of self gap is a way for us to gain higher levels of self-confidence. And from that place, we will then create stronger hearts. So as you can see, the first energy is physical. The second level is emotional. And the third level is around the belief system. It's how we created in our rule book, for example, this belief that I told you, when I accepted that men don't cry, that shuts down the emotional belief system. How to be able to move from black and whites in our belief system to shades of gray. And I'm not talking about values and principles, but beliefs that could hold us back, that worked for our caretakers really well, but not necessarily for us in the new world that we're living in. And if I actually accept that men do cry and that we actually, have very powerful feelings, and if we connect to that, then the belief system as it softens, then allows for the mind to, helps us integrate level 2 and level 1. And then level 4, it's also emotional, and it's a relationship with our loved ones. If we have loving relationships with our inner circle of meaning our, my kids, my wife, my parents, my brothers, my friends, and if I'm in good relationship with them, think of it as a cushion. No, the mattress is the physical. The mind is in the center. No, and then we have a blanket on top of it that, if it's not pressuring the mind, there is clarity of thought throughout, and then I am at peace and I am feeling well, both in my body, in my mind, and in my heart. So that's the grounding energy of the first 4 levels. And then the last 3 is, again, has nothing to do with religion, but level 5 talks about truth and purpose. Level 6 talks about how we are in relationship with feeding our internal energy and universal energy, how we're connected to our souls and how we feed our souls, and how often or how emotional we are when we look at a rose and when we look at a sunset, and when we do, and as we need to feed our bodies, we need to feed our internal spark of energy, and then the last energy is that we need to also make sure that we integrate the mystery of life, and then we surrender to the mystery of life. Then we gain access to tons of energy that are surrounding us. That when we do, and then we integrate it with the first four grounding energies, then it creates this holistic approach of managing your energy that I'm talking about. And I always tell my clients that you can always choose to go from the grounding energy to the higher energy. It's your choice.
Yes.
Like when you're running a marathon, you can run 20 kilometers if you want, or you can go all the way. It is a choice, and many choose it, and others might not be ready to go there. But it's just good to know. I hope I'm creating
Yeah.
a context around the model.
Very clear, and I completely agree. It's a choice, and you need to take action. It's not like you're waiting and the energy levels come up and you go up and up in the ladder. And we know that, currently all around the world, I am sure you're working with hundreds of them, many high-performing leaders are struggling to sustain their energy. We're always talking, even though they're managing their time well, by the way, even though they're managing the companies well, huge companies. But most of the people today feel constant fatigue, mentally, emotionally. And I completely agree with you. We are tougher to ourselves than many other people. I mean, sometimes I'm thinking, if somebody else told me what I have been telling myself, being so harsh on myself, I would probably stop my friendship relationship with that person. But
Yes.
we are most of the time stronger, down to ourselves. So, I mean, just what is the starting point for us, for leaders? How can we start rebuilding the energy, in a lasting way, in a sustainable way, of course, maybe you could give us some daily practice tips.
Yeah.
I know breathing is one of them, but, to make the biggest difference in sustaining our energy.
Yeah. Sometimes the most practical activity, practices will create sustaining impact in our lives. One of the first things that I make sure when I work with my clients is I ask them, what is the first thing that you do in the mornings? And probably 8 of 10 will tell me that the first thing that they do is they look at phones.
Yeah.
And when you look at your phone, the energy behind looking at your phone is guilt. There's a part of you that feels that you're running behind, that, why did I sleep the amount of hours that I did? And when you measure energy, actually the lowest of the lowest energy is shame, and right above shame is guilt. So if the first thing that you do when you wake up is you connect to guilt unconsciously, and then you start to, probably not the best thing to do in your day. So what I offer is, why don't you leave your phone outside, and then the first thing that you do when you wake up, just be grateful. Be grateful to existence. Be grateful to your life, to being loved and loving. And if you're not in that place and you're suffering, then there's always going to be something that you will be grateful for. That if you do, and if you start to do it in a sustainable way, it takes you 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then it takes you, immediately you connect at the highest of the highest energies, which is gratefulness. You won't feel anything probably in the first couple of months, but when you do it, and if you do it in a sustaining way, once you do around, again, 2 to 3 months, you're gonna feel that there's something about your connection to joy. You start to notice beauty in in you and in others. And that starts to create the foundation for other things to come, like doing breathing work. And yes, there's an app called Wim Hof method that I always recommend. It's very easy to access. It's very friendly in terms of how to, help you breathe and learn how to breathe through hyperventilation. And if you do gratefulness and if you follow Wim Hof's app, you will the first 10 minutes of your morning when you wake up, life will change for you. And that's just being very practical.
Yeah, very, very. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very practical. I completely agree with you. The first time I studied breathing, let's put it, I was so sorry for myself because I realized that I'm breathing only up to here. Like, I'm not even aware that, I'm not taking the air inside. But once you do it in a regular practice, things change. And
Yes.
in the book, you also are mentioning two concepts, recovery and renewal. So what is the difference in terms of energy recovery and how can we renew our energy? Even during the day, can we do it? In a busy day, just maybe we feel down. Can we up ourselves again? What do you say?
Recovery is it's more physical in a way. So when you are physically tired, it's important to be intentional on our recovery. I've been traveling a lot, and as a result of the book, the heart is full, but I'm physically tired as a result of all these different time zone changes, and it does exhaust you. So I'm intentional in we have a place on the beach and we go there, and I'm going this Friday, and I'll stay there from Friday to Wednesday. I'll work a little bit, but I'm intentional to go in there because I know that in that place I'll come back fully recovered physically. There's something about then renewal. Renewal is your energy is changing. It's newer energy. It's resulting from the work that you're doing in yourself. We all have a part of a story that is stuck, and that's stuck energy in our system. When we work on ourselves through our own means, or I point to the book to finding an ally. It's very helpful to find an ally. I had many allies in my life's journey that allowed me to be able to learn the parts of my story that were unstuck and how to get them unstuck. When you get your story unstuck and then you integrate and you from their point transcend it, then you renew your energy because you let go the energy that's stuck, and then new energy goes into your system, almost like you're in flow. And many of us have experienced being in flow. Yeah. How to sustain it is the difficulty. But when you're able to then get your stock story unstuck so that you can integrate and transcend, then you'll feel how energy renews. Yeah. Renewing energy creates greater levels of awareness of that you need to recover, because you'll start to feel your body more, and then when you feel your body more, you'll start to know that it is time to recover. Before getting this level of awareness, I will do, and then sometimes you don't know. Then why am I so tired? And then now I know why I'm tired, and then I purposefully make sure that I take time to recover.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
We do the recovering after burnout. That's what we're doing.
Well, that's unfortunate because the reality is when you're burnout, then it takes months to recover.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. You intentionally
Yes.
recover every single, pocket of time that you feel that it is the right time to do, you'll never get to burnout. So you're
Exactly.
always replenishing that part, and then you renew, and then you recover, and then it's a nice balance. Yeah.
So we're talking about awareness, mindfulness. Actually, this is it, to be aware of, as you say, in all dimensions, what your energy levels are, and then which actions you need to take for it. I mean, the book is
Yes.
basically a guide for universal guide for
Yeah.
all leaders, to increase their well-being levels and increase their energy. And instead of focusing on managing time, when you focus on managing your energy, you touch many buttons at the same time, which is definitely creating wonderful results. The question is, does this, you've worked with many leaders around the world, so you're talking about universal things, obviously, that can be implemented in our lives. But have
Yes.
you also noticed cultural differences in terms of how people relate to energy? Because you said I was raised like men don't cry. We even have a song for that in Turkish. Men don't cry. There's a song like that. So what are the cultural differences in terms of relating to energy you've noticed among the leaders you've worked with?
There is definitely cultures where the belief systems are more grounded in some beliefs that could hold us back to opening our hearts. And yet, every time that I've experienced coaching these hundreds of leaders, I've coached leaders from all over the world, between different geographies, industries, genres, and the reality is that they all have a head, they all have a heart, and they all have a soul. So how to be able to create coherence in them requires the understanding of how to find different hooks. Every person's story will offer different hooks. Every
Yeah.
person's cultures will offer different hooks. So, for example, the ones who believe that men don't cry, like Mexican and for example, Turkish, on the other hand, is they've created very resilient, executives. And resilient executives, when they relearn how to feel, again, by, for example, softening this belief system, and there's ways to softening it, then they become very disciplined and driven to reconnect their hearts. Because once they feel, they know, and once they know, they just go and conquer the mountain like they're really trained to do. So I find that sometimes it is in the harshest cultures when it comes to connecting the heart
Yeah.
in their belief system that once they feel, they're easier to connect the heart than the ones who actually are far more open in experiencing the heart, because then there's a part of their belief, for example, where it is a bit more selfish to then look inside yourself in order for you to be able to give to others what others are expecting from you as a leader. But there are cultures, and there are not only cultures from a country point of view, there are cultures from a institution point of view. Depending on the belief system of the founder, you can be in an Eastern, culture, and then if the founder has these kind of beliefs in their belief system, then the institution in itself will hold the belief that might limit our ability to be able to access, for example, the feeling and the beingness. How to be able to then, you know, shift the disorder and bring it to order so that you can create coherence and wholeness in something that it is very difficult to conceive if you're working in this institution, or you've been working in this institution for 20 years and now you're, for example, at Kalman running it.
Yeah,
A stronger heart is gonna be very helpful to be able to then create space.
exactly.
I work with families. I coach the wives, the husbands, the kids of my clients. It's very helpful to find these hooks because maybe some of these leaders would not change their belief system for their work, but for their families, they'll do anything. And they'll start to realize that after connecting the family, these belief systems actually spill over into the home. And then, sometimes they see themselves as, leading the families the same way as they lead their companies. And, kids don't want to be led.
Yeah,
Kids want to be loved. Husbands, spouses want to be loved. They don't want to be, led and or controlled. And it is important to be able to figure out how to create proper balance. So,
yeah,
hope I'm answering your question.
yeah, yeah. Very, very good, very good. I mean, not just the country culture, but also the company culture is definitely having
Yeah.
a big impact on that. But it is a great relief that it can be renewed in terms of energy.
Yes.
Just being
Yes.
aware of it is the first step, diagnosing the level of the energy, what you have missing maybe, and then
Yeah.
opening up your heart. That's wonderful. So, of course, what I believe is leadership well-being is very important so that the leaders can do well-being leadership to their teams, and
Yes.
first becoming role models, and then also helping the team managing their well-being and their energy, so that it will be automatically good for the performance of the company as well, definitely, as
Yes.
bonding a stronger team. What do you think the CHRO's role in this equation is? In Istanbul, you also mentioned that, day
Yeah.
by day, the role of the CHRO is getting more and more important because, they
Yes.
are responsible for the management of the energy of the CEO, maybe, who isn't aware, maybe, that his energy is at the, bottom levels and can be changed. So maybe CEOs, CHROs can also be let's say, a light bulb for the CEO to realize and start managing their energy.
Yes. I mean, our biggest allies at my firm are at the heads of HR. They are the ones who will help us gain access to this kind of work or will block access to this kind of work. It's
Yeah,
important to mention that they are not responsible for the energy of their boss.
yeah,
They are responsible for their own energy. Because once they're able to be in coherence with their own energy, they will gain a stronger heart to have the courage to then be able to put the mirror into their boss so that their boss can see themselves in the mirror. This way, they're not controlling their boss, they're just putting the mirror. That sometimes can be a bit scary because many of these leaders don't necessarily like to be told or showed, the
of course, yeah.
impact that they are creating into their organizations with unintended consequences whenever they are behaving in a way that it's incoherent. And when they are able to see themselves and you as a head of HR are with them pretty much every day. And if you're able to choose the right timing at the right moment, and those interventions will create the right level of softness and access into the leader to say, maybe you're right, maybe I do need help. How does that look like? And then, there is this coach or this advisor, or this mentor, and then you can start to create an entourage of
Action
people
plan.
that could help create space for the CEO to feel not lonely, and then from that place, you know, create in themselves this belief that vulnerability is actually strength rather than weakness. Now, how to be vulnerable in the workplace and how to be able to contain the vulnerability when you're deciding to opening up is part of the journey to being able to do it. We could never do that. We could never get access if not because of
The CHROs.
their commitment to unlocking the energy in the system. And I enjoyed our partnerships and my partnerships with the heads of HR of my clients because they are essential to not only their well-being but the well-being of the whole system.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I can ask you from dusk till dawn, but I know, thank you for your limited time. Just a little couple of questions left.
Yeah.
One thing is, what do the readers should will take away
Yeah.
from the energy advantage? Like, okay, I hope this happens, kind of
Yeah.
wish you have about the
The
book.
the book's intention is to be able to help you learn that we all have a part of our story that is stuck. When you have a part of your story that is stuck, then patterns will repeat and you will be in this loop of doing, or compartmentalize in time, for example. You'll control, you'll micromanage, you'll be perfectionist, to go to an extreme. Now, if you get your story unstuck, then you will be able to transcend these patterns, these behaviors, and then you'll have freedom of choice. How to be able to get your story unstuck, because if you don't, it's almost like you're living in the past. If you're living in the past, you can't be present. And if you're living in the past, a part of you wants to control, what makes you want to be in the future while you're living in the past, which takes you out of present too.
Yeah.
When you're able to get your story unstuck, your ability to stay more present will amplify. When you're present, then you'll get access to all the energy. When you get access to your energy, you will have no need to manage your time.
You flow. Yeah.
You flow.
In
Yeah.
Turkey, we have a saying, the tailor cannot sew his own dress. So
Yes.
I know you're not like that, but still, my last question would be, what is your holistic health and well-being routine that keeps your energy sustainable? You have your recovery getaways, I understand. You have any
Yes.
other tips we can grab from you right away?
I do. I have maybe you can call it a renewal practice in the mornings or a spiritual practice, but I do. As soon as I wake up, I give thanks.
Yeah.
And I start to breathe, and I do a lot of sounds. I have a sound breathing practice that it's very intentional. I've experienced many different things, and in my specific case, I do meditation with intention through applying Kabbalah, and it's a Kabbalistic practice that I do in the morning that lasts around 30 minutes. And then once I do, I immediately go and then I go to the gym. And I try to do a workout. I do weights and I do cardio, and then I go back, and then I'm intentional on my nutrition, and then I make sure that whatever I eat will be well, received in my body, and then I shift my nutrition depending on how I'm feeling for pockets of time, and then I'm ready to go, and then I start as soon as I need to start, and I'm intentional on my sleeping, so I plan to sleep depending on how I start. So, for example, today we started your podcast at 8:30, and I started a call at 8. So I made sure that I woke up at 6 and I slept at 11, so that I sleep my 7 hours. So I'm always intentional on that.
Okay.
And then that helps me to stay present with you, no matter where I am in the world. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Wonderful. Ricardo, thank you very much for being here and for sharing all these insights with us. Hopefully, we will gain access to mastering our own energy because, the book is great. It reminds us of many things. So for everyone listening, I highly recommend the book, The Energy Advantage, How to Go from Managing Your Time to Mastering Your Energy. It's available everywhere, we can say, right? Almost.
Yes, everywhere. Yeah.
So
Amazon, I think it's one of the biggest platforms that we've been going through, but it's everywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, so I strongly recommend it. It is a practical guide because sometimes you read it, but you read some uh, articles or books which are very valuable, but you don't know where to start from, or you don't know what you can do about it with your life. This time it is very practical. First, you look inside yourself, and then you can gradually, improvise and improve, and reach your higher potential, let's say. So thank you very much for joining me today. It's a great pleasure to see you, and hope to see you again sometime.
Thank you, Lee. Thank you so much for your time, for how you prepare the session, and it goes a long way. I felt really safe with you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how this lands in your audience. And maybe one last thing to say, the book's proceeds are gonna get donated. So at the same time, it's important to be able to share that you're also contributing to buying the book, and to a non-for-profit organization. So thank you so much, and for your time.
See you. Bye bye.
See you. Bye bye.